Did you check your analytics today? Here are 11 analytics alerts to avoid an e-commerce meltdown. So you're probably in one of two camps, the yes, I checked it, I live in the bloody thing, or probably like most, no, I set it up and kind of forgot about it. So as an e-commerce store owner or marketer, you've got product stock issues, demanding customers, suppliers, returns to deal with. Yeah, the life of an e-commerce store owner is pretty hectic. With all the plates spinning you're doing, it's easy to forget about metrics other than your revenue. Sometimes until it's too late, and then another fire starts, and yep, you have to jump on that too. Fortunately, to avoid disaster, Google Analytics has a nifty feature that allows you to get alerted before problems occur, and to highlight when good things are happening too. It's a simple feature called Custom Alerts, so I'm going to quickly show you where they live and what the options are. Now in your left-hand menu in Analytics, click on Customization, Custom Alerts. Now this view is a little dashboard of all the alerts that have triggered, but we want to click on Manage Customized Alerts, and in here are the 11 alerts that I've set up that I'm going to run you through today. But let's quickly create a new alert, and you'll see the options within here available to you. So give the alert a name, apply it to the analytics view appropriate to you. You set a period, which is a day, week, or month. Then send me an email. And there's also an option in here to include other people. So if you're, let's say, the business owner and you want your developer to also receive an email, or your marketing manager, stick that in here. And then the alert conditions are relatively straightforward. It applies to what and alerts you when something happens. So I'll run through those very quickly in a minute. Now, condition is, let me click, less than, greater than, decreased or increased by, and then a percentage decrease or increase, and then obviously the value. So really simple to set up. Let me run you through the 11 alerts you must have for your e-commerce store. So number one is traffic flatlined, and this is uses the period of a day, and essentially it applies to the default settings in the alert condition. So all traffic, all sessions, the condition being is less than 1. So essentially if your website is receiving no traffic, you will get an alert. Your website might be offline, you might have a technical problem, you might have a tracking issue, whatever it may be, you'll get an alert. So really simple, really straightforward. Number two, slightly different, a major traffic loss. So this alert occurs when there's a significant dip in your traffic, and if your traffic fluctuates on weekdays versus weekends, then obviously don't use the previous day comparison here. Use let me show you, a same day in the previous week. You can even use same day in the previous year if you really want to. If you're super seasonal, that might be appropriate to you. You can use this alert, for example, on not just all traffic, but specific pages. So you can set this alert to monitor traffic to your entire site as it is now on screen, or perhaps your checkout page, if it's decreased by 30, 40, 50%, whatever that may be. So this is a really simple alert, another good one. And conversely, we have a traffic spike, which is essentially the opposite settings. So set a value, increase by, and on the previous day. So essentially here, if the traffic increased today by more than 50% compared to yesterday, you'd get an alert to let you know about this. Number 4, the engagement drop-off. This should be rare, but it's a good alert to have in your arsenal. Anytime you're making changes to your website in particular, it'll help you spot any drops so you can investigate them really quickly. So to set this one up, we have the average session duration in the alert, and again, a condition of decreased by more than, let's say, 50% from the previous day. Obviously, when you're setting values here, you just have to use a bit of common sense, based on your historical information and what you know about the traffic to your store. If it fluctuates regularly, then you might want to use the previous week as opposed to the previous day. But anyway, another simple one. Now, next one, number 5, is tanking transactions. Now, this is pretty crucial. So you should always be tracking the checkout activity. And the alert below will trigger if transactions drop by more than 30% on the same day last week. And you can, of course, do it for the previous day if you so want to. I like the same day previous week because typically the same day of the week performs similarly, whereas a Saturday for you might be completely different to a Friday because everyone buggers off on a Friday. and puts their feet up. Number 6 is rocketing revenue. This is a nice alert to receive. So on the flip side of transactions dropping, a pleasant surprise to receive is an alert that told you your transactions are up here by 30% on the previous day. So this will help you identify when things are working well. Perhaps you recently did a large promotion or you extended a marketing campaign. So instead of having to dive through analytics every few hours to see the performance, you can set up a trigger that tells you what's happened. You can, of course, set this to revenue instead of transactions if you so wish. It depends on the type of product you sell. If they vary wildly in price, you might get false positives, of course. So if your volume is relatively constant, then use revenue. If revenue is relatively constant, you can use transactions. Try both, give it a bit of a test. Number 7 is a drop in conversion rate. So you need to be aware when your checkout is failing for whatever reason. You might have a technical glitch or perhaps a payment gateway is down. Either way, it's the most crucial area of your store and you should be alerted to failures. So here we have all traffic, alert me when the e-commerce conversion rate decreases by more than 50%. And I've, again, put the same day in previous week, but you can do previous day if you so wish. That's a pretty important alert. I'm sure you'd agree. Number 8 is a bounce rate spike. So bounce rate is when someone visits a page on your site from an external source, so it's their first touch, and then leaves the page without visiting any other page. So depending on how much traffic you get, I would suggest you set this for your key pages to start with, perhaps your home page and your top 10 products. You don't have to do it for all traffic. So this essentially looks at every single page, and if your bounce rate increases by more than 30% on the previous day, you'll get an alert. This is interesting because you might actually unearth some problems here. You might have a product that's been recently updated, the image is wrong, the image is missing, description's crap, price is wrong, it's gone out of stock and you didn't realise, or some kind of issue here, or you're sending a social media or an ad campaign to this product or category page, and for some reason people are bouncing, and this is quite a nice alert to have to tell you there's something weird is happening. It could be something more sinister. It could actually be your site performance. You could have a hosting issue, a website, a slowdown issue, and that can be just as big a cause of bounce rate as any other. So a nice little report. Number 9 is social media winners. So tracking your efforts over social media can be a little bit tricky. It's very disparate because there's so many different platforms and different tracking methods, and they all have their own dashboards. So this alert tells you when one of your social channels is delivering the goods, loads of fresh traffic. It might alert you to something that isn't even your doing. Someone else is mentioning your brand or product, which is always nice. This alert would trigger, for example, when the medium exactly matches social and sessions increase by more than 30% on the previous day. Really simple. And then number 10, most people who are running an online store are probably advertising. And so we have an alert here that tells you if your ad traffic is disrupted. So it applies to the medium exactly matching CPC, so cost per click. So that will bring in Bing, AdWords, and if you're tagging properly, your Facebook paid traffic and so on. And then sessions decrease by more than 80%. So I put a really big figure on this because unless you're doing highly different bidding and budgeting per day, then 80% is a significant drop. And it would be very odd for an online store to have that level of paid traffic drop. You could set it higher if you want. You could set it to 90%, but that'll tell you if there's a problem. And finally, we've got the dead or error pages. So you can use this alert to fire when a 404 error page occurs and the traffic to that ramps up. So, for example, you could also set it up for your payment page. So if you have a payment failure or a payment gateway failure, or if people are seeing the payment failure screen more frequently, is that a technical glitch? Is that, what's going on there? Wouldn't it be nice to receive an alert to tell you that payments aren't going through? And here we can see that the error is set to, the condition, is set to increase by more than 20% on the previous day. So those are the top 11 custom analytics alerts that I'd use for an e-commerce store to avoid meltdown. You don't have to live in your analytics account. Spend a few minutes setting these alerts up, or at least some of them, the more critical ones, such as the checkout and the transaction ones, and the advertising traffic. And then you can sleep a little easier and also not have to remember to check your analytics on a daily basis. No one has time for that. Enjoy. Cheers.